Where is he? We're 3 episodes into this. You got one of the best actors in the world on your show, and they're like, we're going to use him twice in 3 seasons. Giddy for Gideon, but I'm getting tired, folks. I need Giancarlo Esposito in my life. But I do know where we are, and we're on the Mando Fan Show. So thank you, everybody, for joining us live on this Wednesday night, our final Mando Fan Show of winter. So winter is not coming, Amanda, our guest on the show today. But I'm going to give her a better intro in just a moment. We have James and Lacey with me, as always, here. And our guest is a very talented cosplayer and author. You could find her books, Level Up Creative Cosplay, on Amazon. You know how to look on Amazon. Come on. Welcome to the Mando Fan Show, Jedi Manda. Amanda, welcome to the Resistance Broadcast Mando Fan Show.
Hello, everyone. This is so exciting. I love this podcast, you guys.
Oh,
thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, watching, who is unfamiliar with you and what you do, have at it with your plugs. Let people know where they could find you in person, as a cosplayer, online, all that stuff.
Yeah. So, hi, everyone. I'm Jedi Manda. I am a cosplayer. I've been doing this for 10 plus years now. I am an author, as they said, of 2 books, Creative Cosplay and Level Up Creative Cosplay, with someone who looks pretty familiar on the front. I specialize in over intricate costumes and crazy stuff. Like I said, been doing it for 10 plus years. You can find me all over social media at literally every platform. I'm probably on TikTok the most right now, because that's where everybody is. But I also travel around to conventions throughout the US, and I will see if you're coming to C2E2. Look for me in this awesome outfit that's standing behind me, Rhaenyra Targaryen. So
very cool.
That's
so
me.
cool.
I feel like nerds like a feather flock together. So a lot of people who like Star Wars, like Lord of the Rings, like Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, all the good stuff.
The big franchises do kind of clump everybody together, but each cosplay, especially cosplayers in those communities, are really connected. So like the Star Wars cosplayers, we have our own little bugs, and then our own little Game of Thrones and Marvel as well.
Do you have a particular, can I ask a question? Do you like doing a mainstream cosplay? Like, would you enjoy doing like Hermione, or would you enjoy doing like a lesser known background character or creature or something?
It depends, because I pick my costumes for love of character. So I have to like really just be into that person. They have to I just love it so much. So like Rhaenyra spoke to me. I've read Fire and Blood. Like I knew I've loved this character, and I love the Targaryens. But like when I was watching Clone Wars, I didn't really get into Ahsoka till later part of Clone Wars, and I honestly didn't really start liking her till Rebels. And so that love of Ahsoka just like hit me in the face. I was like, it's kind of like it's like an internal, like kind of vomiting kind of thing. You're like, oh, I gotta make it now. And so I have to make it, because that's just how I show my love. So it depends. The character can be main, it could be not. I just gotta love the character.
Choice too, because it's sort of both in a weird way. Like they would be like, "Oh, you do Star Wars cosplay, so like Princess Leia or Amidala or something." But it's like, no, Ahsoka, this lesser known like animated character, or whatever. But then it's like now she's starting to grow into like more of the mainstream version of a. Cosplay.
100%. Yeah, I have some like, I think actually Star Wars is the fandom I have the most costumes of, and I started cosplaying because of my love of Queen Amidala and Padme. And so I said to myself very young, I was like, I'm going to make all of those costumes someday. And I am. And I'm working.
That's awesome. Yes. Very cool. We are very happy to have you. And we're here to talk about Chapter 19 of The Mandalorian, The Convert, and written by Jon Favreau and Noah Clore, who was writer on Book of Boba Fett and assistant writer on Mandalorian Season 2. And this is directed by Lee Isaac Chung. And it's, we're 3 episodes in, only 5 to go in Season 3, and this one took us on quite the tangent. But before we get into the Pedro Pascal face scale, where we rate this thing, we just wanted to thank everybody who's joining us live on youtube.com/@theresistance broadcast. If you don't mind taking a moment to just use that mouse and clicking like, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're trying to grow it. We're only 3 months in with this new channel, so we appreciate that. So subscribe there. And of course, if you want your comment read on the show and for us to be able to discuss that comment, We have super chats available as well. So thank you for all of that support. And of course, if you aren't a patron of TRB yet and you want to support what we do that makes shows like this possible, head to patreon.com/resistance broadcast and become a resistance officer and join the party. All right, so let's get into this thing here. Let's rate this episode. Let's get warmed up and see how we feel about it out of the gate, face value style. So each of us are going to go around and rate this thing 0 to 10. Halves are included. They're allowed on the Pedro Pascal face scale. And the more Pedros we see on screen, the better, right? So let's see how we did. Amanda, you're our guest of honor. So what do you rate this episode 0 to 10 on the Pedro scale?
I rated it a 7, and I can't wait to explain my 7.
Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna go right to James here. James, what did you give this episode? Episode 3. Chapter
a little
19.
bit lower, yeah, than even my usual self, but a little lower than Amanda there. 6.5 is what I went for this week, which is still on. You know, some people look at that a little bit differently, like it's a D or an F or something. I look at it like the middle of the ground is a 5. So I still like this episode. There are more benefits than negatives in this one.
Cool. I am with Amanda. I gave this a 7 as well. I'll obviously get into it a bit more later. Definitely reminded me a lot of Andor, and I know I saw a lot of people feeling that way too. But there are some cool parallels and also some, disappointing things that we saw about this whole post-Empire galaxy that we live in. So, Lacey, how about you to round us out here?
So, I gave this episode a 6. It is my lowest score of all the episodes of Mandalorian. And that includes the bug episodes. So, that's where I'm at.
Big Chrissy Teigen gif across the screen.
Yeah.
All right. So, James, this is kind of cool because it's very Star Warsy on what our score wound up being a 6.6 on the Pedro scale for TRB. So there we are. So, yes, get your 66s out of the way in the comments.
Pedro 66.
Pedro 66. Route 66. Order 66. All right. Our patrons were a bit more positive about this episode. They actually clocked this in at a 7.9. And we'll get to a couple of comments explaining what their vibe is. So we're going to start off with Major Eric Dean. First of all, Eric, thanks for being a part of TRB. Appreciate it. He said, I'd give it 7 Pedros. The Mando Bo bookends were strong for both story and action. Air fights were well done. The Pershing backstory sandwich in the middle seemed like an Andor episode. There you go. Andor episode in both good and bad ways. Visually well filmed. It looked beautiful, but dragged on for too long, like when neither Andor, Luthen, Kino, or Mon Mothma were on screen in Andor. Just not enough there. I hope it's building to something bigger with the Doctor. Thanks for the great content. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. And then we have Admiral Kyle Baker. What's up, Kyle? He might be in the chat if we know Kyle. He said, it's 8 Pedro faces out of 10 for me. Fearful we're going to see a lot of complaints about seeing less Mando in this one, but I've been really hoping to get back to the cloning storyline and to start setting up the bad guys again. And this chapter not only did that, but did it in unexpected ways and still was bookended with plenty of Mando action. So thank you for that, Kyle. Appreciate that very, very much. All right. Lacey, do we have any comments we want to get to from the audience?
Yeah, so we have a couple comments. We have Dave Hornak. What up, Dave? Indeed, Dave. He said the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes are worth 1.5 points. Thank you, Dave. Frank Grande. What up, Frank? He says very little in this episode. Grogu justifies Lacey's 6. LOL. Then Joseph, thank you for your comment, says Mandalorian. Get it?
Ooh,
Andor in the middle.
I see it.
And then Simon comes back with, hey guys, 0 issue with this episode, 8 out of 10. Love
right
it.
on.
I love where everybody varies on these episodes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen with this one. I was like, it's going to be all over the spectrum.
All right, we're about to get into our main discussion and talk all about this thing. But before we do, we know a lot of you are bounty hunters in our audience, and you're chasing that giveaway that we have going on all season. So it's time for this week's Mando code number. As you know, I've been revealing a number on every episode, and on our season finale episode, where we talk about the season finale, we'll reveal the final number and how to submit your guesses to win the Mando code bounty. And this year's grand prize is a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian, Ahsoka Tano, and Grogu action figure 3-pack and a Resistance Broadcast logo t-shirt. And we may add to that as we get further along the way this season. So if you're ready, you got your pen, your paper, or you're getting a tattoo on your hand to make sure you don't forget it. Just don't share it with anybody. That's not what bounty hunters do. The Mando code for this week, the third number is 2. I said 2.
It just reminds me of James talking about.
Yeah,
James a couple episodes ago was like, John has this big buildup of like, you could win this, and he's like, and the answer is 2.
Yeah.
New England clam chowder.
Yeah, exactly.
With the red or the white? All right, let's get to a super chat before we start talking about chapter 19.
Yeah, so our super chat comes from Luke. Thank you so much. He says, "What up, TRB? Is there any actor you'd like to see show up in Mando season 3? I think it would be hilarious if Gary Busey showed up as Rob."
Oh my God, Count Pepto for the home run. Amanda, what do you think? Do you have any dream actors casting for Mando?
Matt Smith as some kind of Imperial guy. I don't know.
Do you know the whole thing about Matt Smith and Rise of Skywalker? Did you hear about all that?
I touched on it. I feel like I saw it on Twitter somewhere, but do tell.
It was probably John ranting and raving about it.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be Palpatine, and he was supposed to be a younger clone of Palpatine, and they axed it and brought back our favorite buddy Ian McDiarmid instead. So it was in the works, and then they just kind of scrapped it. So like people thought like, oh, that was a fake rumor or something, and he had to like sort of do that dance in the media about it. But we got to see him show up in House of the Dragon. So, and he's really good in that show. So I like that one. What about you guys? James, Lacey, any dream?
I'm gonna say Keith from Goonies, our Oscar-winning guy. Get him in.
Bring
him in.
Ki Kwan, get him in.
Mando?
Get him in.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
I think that he'd be fully appreciated in Mando because they've got all these other people from like 80s shows and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I'd love that.
100%.
I like that. I definitely want to see him come around again.
Yeah.
I don't know that this would be my top pick, but when the question was asked, it was the first name that popped in my head, Joaquin Phoenix. I feel like he would pull in some sort of Matt Damon and Interstellar sort of thing where you're like, oh my God. Like, like if they surprised you with an episode where it turns around and it's Joaquin Phoenix, I'd be like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be odd.
Can I guess what you're going to say, John?
Yeah, sure.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah. Because he's Jon Favreau's best friend. Like, it doesn't have to be a big role. Let me just see 6'5" Vince Vaughn dressed as some ugly alien and have him like drinking at a bar or being a bartender just for a couple of minutes, getting hopped up and making bad decisions in a galaxy far, far away.
It should have been the Freetown guy. That should have been.
It's Freetown.
No offense to W. Earl Brown, but yeah, Amanda, go ahead.
I was gonna say, since we've all named like male actors, I'm gonna also put Jamie Lee Curtis in this role.
Oh my God, she was the other one I had in my head. Yes,
she was like rumored, wasn't she?
Jamie Lee Curtis as anybody.
She was rumored for season 2.
Yeah,
right. Or was that
Jamie Lee Curtis is my favorite actress like on the planet, and she seems like an amazing human as well. So, yeah, and congrats to her on the Oscar win. Let's just pick all the Oscar winners.
I was going to say,
honestly, like all of the Oscar people, Michelle Kwan, Brendan Fraser, just bring them all in.
Get them all in there. Yeah. All right. So let's get after it with this this chat about this episode. We usually start off by just picking our first, our favorite moment or shot from the episode. So Amanda, did you have one scene, moment, quote, or shot that you were like, ooh?
Ooh, I mean, I think the immediate face that we never saw of Bo seeing her home be just destroyed, like that, I felt what her face looked like the minute she said those, what were they? Mud whackers?
Yeah.
She said those mud whackers are destroying my home.
This is a term I'm not used to, but I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, her voice shaked a little bit. Like you could feel the anger build up in that. That was probably mine.
I like that. Yeah, you could tell the anguish without, and also just like the returning trauma. Yeah,
the trauma. Yeah, because it's happened once, happens again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. This was tough for me because I don't know that there's one particular moment that really stood out, but I think I'm just gonna go with some of the dogfighting moves from the first space fight, and particularly the one where Bo-Katan does that sick like pivot. He puts the fin up or the wing up and flips it around and blows that like that. That TIE fighter was just like, oh, I'm finished. Like that's it. So I gotta go. Oh, see, that's our guest Kevin from last week, toying around, popping in the chat. What's up, buddy? So good to see you. With a hello there. How you doing, man?
Hello there.
All right, Lacey, favorite moment or shot from the episode?
So normally when I watch Star Wars shows, there's usually one moment that really stays in my head that I'm like, oh, that was such a cool shot. I'm gonna admit it wasn't this one, just because I was like, there's so much torturing and terribleness, and I feel so uneasy that it sat with me weird. But I think the thing that's kind of sticking in my head is the shot of Bo-Katan internally screaming in her helmet as it pulls out, and then it goes into like the mythosaur head and then back to her, and everyone's like kind of touching her shoulder, and you could just see she was just like, oh no, what have I done?
And I was just
I don't get that at all.
Oh, no.
I think that's not what she's feeling at all.
You don't?
No.
But I agree with you, James. There is a part of me, and I think that's me projecting my own feelings on her. I think there also is a part of her that's like, wait, before this I was alone by myself, and now I have no home. Now they've brought me in.
Yeah. Because well, I mean, we'll get into more details, but I just felt when we're
but
leading
that shot
to that
was
scene
very
or whatever,
good.
I'm like,
it was like
she's starting to flip around on this whole cult thing. She's like feeling like this is awesome now. I'm starting to get into this. Yeah, that's how I take it.
James, what about you, buddy? Favorite moment, shot, quote?
I'm sort of with Lacey on the sense that like we rated this on the lower end. So for me, it was one of the two aerial things, like you said, John. It was either Mando's like go up real high and turn around and come back down, or it was Bo-Katan's on the water, flip around and come back. Basically the same move, but they each got their version of it. I probably preferred Bo-Katan's. So out of the two, because in my opinion, Mando sort of felt a little bit like the seismic charge that we got in Book of Boba Fett, or maybe that was actually season 2, but either way, it sort of felt like that same thing that we had already seen. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I would go with Bo-Katan's, and that was probably the bookends were interesting, although the second one was a little bit slower and the first one had a lot of action. But I'm just gonna stick with that dogfight area was probably the best part of the episode, honestly.
Oh my god, that shot where he then lets go of the engine, and I was like, oh, he's doing it, and he does like the hang thing, and then
there were a lot of cool moves like that, and there was one I saw someone in the comments say it, so I'm glad someone did, where Bo-Katan flies all the way up and just stalls and stops, and it's almost identical to 1989 Batman when the Batwing goes into the moon. It looks like the logo. Amanda, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I was like, that had to have been on purpose, right?
There were a lot of spots in this episode that were on purpose, and
I don't think it was the N1, William. I think it was Bo-Katan's ship.
Yeah,
comment. But I know what you're talking about.
Batman shot. Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this thing. Lots to talk about. Amanda, I know you're chomping at the bit to get into what you want to get into here, but clearly an episode that is a change of pace. We have focused on some side characters to try to build this story, and we're seeing a different side of the New Republic that we probably didn't expect post Empire. You probably think happiness, democracy, everything's going great, and parallels with what's going on with Bo-Katan and her internal struggles. So what are your overall thoughts on this episode and your biggest takeaways, and just what you think?
Is it to me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm okay. First off, I'm a huge fan of horror and terrifying and things that make me go ick. And so I like it, and I like to feel uncomfortable.
Amanda loves Scream, by the way, John.
I love Scream.
Yes.
I love Scream. Huge fan of that in Friday the 13th. That's a whole other thing. But I liked that I felt uncomfortable, because what that gave me was conflict. And we finally got more conflict here, because I feel like the 2 episodes were about Mando get into those waters. He got in the waters. We're here. What else now? We've got to go. We've got to pivot. We got to find something else. And so going and following Pershing, I thought was an interesting choice. And to be able to see the dark side of the New Republic from a side we never see, because we always see the fluffy, rich senatorial side and the royal side. We don't, or the scoundrel side, but from like a Jedi purpose, like from an automatically a good side. This is like, oh, we're doing a good thing. Don't you know? We're doing a good thing. And it was really freaky. And I was like, oh, I love this tension that you are feeling for Pershing now. You are feeling uncomfortable about the New Republic, which is something most people don't feel like. And I loved that. Love that. It gave me big Operation Paperclip vibes for you history nerds out there, and Oppenheimer and all that fun stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it definitely is jarring to see the New Republic wearing uniforms that looked very Imperial, that were very Imperial, same equipment, same techniques. Like it's almost just like they just took over and didn't even realize that they were doing the same type of thing.
They didn't know because they won. They're the winner. They can choose how the rest of this goes, and they're just going right back to what the Empire was doing. It's just a different format. It's a different font.
All based on fear of uprising, but which side is the good side? Who's right? You know,
exactly.
And it's pretty wild. Yeah, I agree.
It's 1984 vibes. I mean, it felt very like utopian in a bad way, which is we've never seen Star Wars in this route, which I loved. Yeah, and then the switch at the end with what was her name? I'm catching on it, but her switch to turn in Pershing.
Kane. Yeah.
Yes, that hurt. And I was like, oh, good.
And just when that look took over her face and she tilted her head slightly.
That was good acting, man. I'll tell you, I was just like
subtle.
Subtle, but good. And it got
she bites the cookie too.
You know, it was not subtle. I knew she was a liar. You know how I knew?
What was your toy?
She said she liked the red ones. And then there she was eating the yellow one.
Eating the yellow one. All right, touche. I mean, I kind of got a little bit into it, and I was like, I really think she's working for Gideon, or she's working for herself to get to a spot where it's back with Gideon. Like, it felt she was in this program to cause some damage. But then at the end, I was like, now I'm thinking, what if she turned down the Mound Flayer? What if she turned it off? What if she's doing this whole thing to where she is a double agent? And I love that stuff, man.
Yeah. I was torn. I don't know about you, James and Lacey. At some point, I was like, one of them's going to turn on the other one. Like, I'm not sure which one yet. I couldn't tell. So, James and Lacey, what did you think about clearly the focus of the meat of this episode, these two, and the tension between them? So, I don't know. What did you guys think about that?
I knew she was bad from the moment I saw her. Is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
Because
no, it was very obvious to me too.
First of all, she was so bad in the previous seasons that I was like, there's no way that all of a sudden she's a good person. Second of all, she just has that look. You know how some people just have like a bad guy look to them? Like she just looks like a bad guy. And then also in the kind of recap they had at the beginning of the episode, they showed her being bad. And I was like, why are they showing me this again? But yeah, I feel like with Pershing, every time we've met him, he's been like really anxious and nervous. He's touching his ear because they cut his ear off. Like he's doing all these things that to me wouldn't, by body language, tell me that he's a bad guy because he's so nervous. He's so like anxious. And then with her, it was confidently walking in places. She easily walked on the train. No big deal. She was avoiding droids and jumping off trains and sneaking into, and then the way that she was like, yeah, go ahead. And the thing that gave it away was actually in the ship when there was a loud noise. He goes, what is it? And she goes, oh, it's just the ship settling. And I was like, oh no.
She's like, finish packing that bag.
Yeah. that was very much a give it away. I will say, yeah.
And then the other part when they're standing there and he goes, okay, so you ready to go? And she goes, I'm just going to stay. And I was like, oh, she's going to turn it up. And she's like, we're friends. I was like, no, you're not. And she just was like, woo. And I was like, oh, you're the worst. Like, I just, also, I just have a lot of anxiety. So these kind of episodes, I'm like on alert at all times.
And I'm like, yeah, go. Make me uncomfortable.
James, let's not forget in season 1 how empathetic and almost protective Pershing was over Grogu compared to the client. There is a sense of humanity to this guy that I think we forget a little bit. that we never saw from this character now revealed to be named Aaliyah Kane. So were you tapped into that when you were watching that? Were you like, oh, she's definitely the one turning, or where were you throughout this? Because you're clearly a cracker detective or a cookie detective. So I don't know how you feel about characters in general.
This was, I think, sort of like why I was kind of down on the episode, was because I was never at any point like a twist and turn. I was like, why is this poor guy following this person who's clearly always leading him into a trap? This is
it's
so
like
stupid.
Being in a horror movie and he's got the knife and he's like, do you want to go check out this garage? And they're like, okay, sure. And he's like, there's no exit.
He was
That's
not the final girl. Not at all. Not final girl status. No.
I don't know. I kept thinking so often, like, why isn't he just asking simple questions like, what's in it for you? Or why are you doing this for me, or anything? They never went down that road. It was just like, she's like, I'm going to help you if we're going to do this. And I'm why is she risking everything she has?
Yeah, there was no questioning.
It was a weird episode. And I'm like, he's kind of being really stupid. And I'm like, is he supposed to be like, thinking there's a romantic angle, and that's why he's like going with what she says, or wants to go with what she says or something? And I'm like, I'm not getting any of this. It's just the storyline of him going down that route. I sort of get it. I believe that he feels that what he was doing wasn't bad, and he ended up just hanging out with the wrong people. But I've felt that way since day one, like when they brought him in, and it's like dead or alive, and he's like, that's not what we agreed on. Grogu has to be alive. And it's, it's like, I've felt that this guy was always trying to do the right thing, but he's just in the wrong group of people. And this whole episode was just clearly evidence of that. And I'm going to say it, a little bit of spice here. Like, I don't get the Andor thing at all. John, you said in the chat earlier, I was like, Andor? This doesn't feel at all like it. Like, if Andor is Sherlock Holmes, this is Boxcar Children, let me tell you, because it's...
Wow, pull that reference out of the bottom of the barrel. Woo!
It just didn't have anywhere near the same intrigue. And like someone earlier was saying too, like it was it would be like if there was no Andor or Luthen or Kino or Mon Mothma, and it's like, okay, yeah, but like where's the connection here? Is it just aggressive characters, like normal people in Coruscant setting? Is that the only Andor connection we have? Is it supposed to be spy? Because it's not spy thriller at all. I'm not thrilled. I don't know.
I'm still not over Boxcar Children.
I'm just saying.
Spicy. That's what that was.
Yeah. I just don't see the Andor connection. I still feel like it's Mandalorian, but it just like, I was not intrigued by the story at all. Some supplies, and then he got busted, but he should have seen it coming a mile away from that crazy lady.
Yeah. I mean, there is definitely that struggle with that guy, and you could tell it's one of those things where he's sort of this microcosm of people who were affiliated with the Empire, the Imperials, not by choice, but because they had to. And he has that moral compass, which you like to see.
Yeah.
And that's modern Star Wars, graying those areas where George Lucas was like, the good guys use the blue lightsabers, the bad guys use the red lightsabers, and we're gonna go fast, Yeah. And I'm joking because obviously he wove a beautiful tale, George Lucas. But I'm just kind of saying, like, in terms of the bad guys not always being just absolute, bad. It's like there's layers to this stuff, and it was cool seeing them explore that a bit, because I'm sure there's going to be a reason why we saw this episode, right, Amanda? It's not just because let's just see what Dr. Pershing's up to.
100%.
They're ramping up this cloning thing. So how do you feel about cloning and in this aspect, and like going back to, like, do you remember, like, does it make you think about, like, when he had Grogu on that table, what do they want with him? So what are your thoughts on that whole aspect?
Cloning stuff? I think it's starting me to think about Snoke a little bit more, which I'm not into. But the strands talk, and I was just like, oh, I know, I see where this is going. I also just think Pershing is just really a guy who's really into his work, and he just will not stop, which is a drive that I think it was shown a little bit this episode. Obviously, with his just obliviousness of the fact that this is not going to work out.
It was very Twilight Zone. Like, he was so obsessed with his work.
Very Twilight Zone.
kind of obsessed to get it done. And at the end of the day, his brain got wiped, is what he valued the most of anything in his whole life, got wiped. And like,
and
it
it's
seems
terrifying.
so Twilight. Yeah, Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Who's the Terminator 2 scientist?
Oh,
Dyson.
Is that who it was? Yeah, I'm trying to think. So you have a character who's like legitimately a good person and is trying to do something for the right reason. It gets twisted, it gets messed up, and it's like that's sort of the bad side of science or whatever. But I do believe this guy, like he's trying to do something. He's like, if we could clone organs, I mean, we're already doing that, really. Humanity is like we're in the works of cloning organs and other things like that, so that we have hearts to give people, kidneys to give people, blood.
He really believed in it. Was really trying to push it, and I get it, dude. I get it, but you just got to watch who your friends are, and he doesn't know that because he's always felt very treated as a scientist. We'll give you everything you want. This is what you need. I'll just do your thing, and now he's on his own. And now he doesn't know who to trust.
And sometimes a mathematical and science-driven brain might not necessarily they might not necessarily be as socially observant.
Smart.
Yeah, to that type of stuff. So there is a lot of that too. Lacey, let's check in with our super chats, see what the TRB crowd is talking about.
Yeah, so we have a couple super chats. First, we have David Probus, aka Proby1 Kenobi. What up, David?
Buddy?
He says, Mando fan show is live, baby. Welcome to the base, Jedi Amanda.
Hello.
Nice.
I like the space. It's comfy.
Yeah. Next is Cal.
Thanks, Dave.
What up, Kyle? He said, Katie O'Brien's character was still helping Moff Gideon. Feels like she's hiding something. Thanks, TRB. 100%.
Thank you, Kyle.
She took that case so confidently, and all the cops were like, we saw nothing. So sketchy.
Yeah, that's true. Like so she is in fact like someone who is just part of this what do they call it? They call it the amnesty program. She's still part of the amnesty program. Yeah. It's like why she has any authority. I mean, I know the amnesty program is different from prisoners, but like she's sort of in this institution and she's doing her time, good things in order to, help her way get out of it or whatever. But I'm like, she's running a sting operation on 100%. Other prisoners? What?
I think it came down to they wanted Pershing to do this work. They needed him to do it. He didn't want to do it. He was constantly arguing with them to get the work done. They see that he's now a part of this New Republic program. They just need his brain, so to speak. They just need him to tell them what to do, and then they'll get someone else to do the work for him.
Do you think they're going to use his work against him?
What they just did have anything to do with it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because she got him to get the stuff he needs, and then she took it.
He got the stuff he needs, and she took it. And also, they're wiping his brain. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
She has everything.
He's not going to remember that the event just happened. Is that all that?
She
depends on the power of the mind flayer.
Right. Yeah. So he said to the Mon Calamari, he goes, these were used by the Empire. And he goes, no, we're not using it that way. We're only using it for relaxation. And he's like, no, this is a weapon. And they're like, no, it's fine. And then she used it as a weapon. She turned it all the way up.
Yeah.
No,
it's not good.
Get that. I guess I just don't understand why she would be in on it with the other people to get Pershing caught. Why get him caught? Why not just steal the stuff and just have him work on what you need him to work on privately?
Equalize him so he can't be used in other ways. Once they have
because he already gave a big talk. He was a part of the culture now. Like people knew who he was, so they couldn't.
Yeah, he's
have
kind of
him
a spokesperson.
Yeah,
he can still be a threat if he goes on to do things for the good side. So let's get what we need from him now. Equalize him.
But
I don't know.
There's always a sleight of hand. She might have just been like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. She was enjoying that cookie though. All right, Dave,
she was enjoying the cookie.
She was. Dave, thank you for the super chat. He said, my geeky hope while watching them get to the Star Destroyer was that a bunch of other former Imperials were going to be waiting on that ship, start it off and take it off with Pershing. Either way, I knew she was not good. I know there was a moment that I was like, are they just going to jump ship? Like just take off? And then she was like, oh no, these don't go anywhere anymore. And I remember thinking in my head, it's so sketchy that no one is here.
Yeah.
That'd be funny if
it doesn't matter if the car doesn't run anymore. They're still going to look it up, and obviously people are going to come and strip parts from it and stuff. Like,
I mean, look at the Andor episodes.
High important and expensive equipment on the inside, and the doors are just open. Like,
yeah,
what?
the Andor episodes where they're in the junkyard, they had like those dog things from Solo there. They had all these other things like watching the junkyard, and that's on some random planet. Like, you're not going to protect the Imperial ships.
And the outskirts of Coruscant are sort of where Palpatine's hideout was too. You know, it's like that dark, like unlit part of the city. And then I was just thinking, like you were talking about, like Dave's super chat here, like they were just gonna like start up the Star Destroyer and go away. I would like to know, I'm sure like Pablo Hidalgo or a reference book tells you like the steps to start up a Star Destroyer. I'm sure it's not like pressing a key fob button like a Nissan Altima. You're just like, all right, here we go. Everyone's strapped in. Star Destroyer
turn
time.
The key.
Yeah, there's not an exact thing, but in Lost Stars, there's a little bit of like what it takes for like how many people it takes for the ship to continue to fly.
Yeah.
And stuff. She's got a little bit of like, I have to be on board for this, and I have to put in the code, and it keeps it flying and all this other stuff. So there was some stuff there, but not necessarily as far as like how to start it up and get it like going.
But is there a remote starter in case you're on a cold planet?
Yeah, you gotta lock and then hold.
Our next super chat is from Che. Thank you so much. Who says it was wishful thinking on his part to rightful distrust of the New Republic. She won his trust, and sometimes you miss red flags when you see what you want to see. I hate him being in that machine. It was very uncomfortable.
Thank you, Che.
And I was
uncomfortable. Twilight
Zone,
man.
That's a good point. It's sort of like showing like they really were showing Pershing again in this like empathetic, like believing in humanity light, because he wanted to believe her as being good, and that's heartbreaking in itself. And I can't help but think when those spotlights went on him and her, and then she does that turnaround and is on their side, it felt like Last Crusade and many other movies when Elsa hugs Indy and grabs the diary and her face just changes.
Yeah.
That is a lonely feeling when you think you have someone, the one person who's with you in this, crazy situation, and then all of a sudden you're just dead alone. And like that's got to be, no one wants to be in that situation ever.
Yeah,
awful.
Our next super chat is from Aaron. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thanks,
How's
Aaron.
it going? He really liked it. It started off the whole Moff Gideon thing. They were talking about him escaping. Now Gideon showing up won't be random. Maybe I'm alone, LOL. I didn't even pick up that they talk about him escaping, but they totally do as a like gossip, right?
Gossip, yeah, and like weird things that happened to him possibly.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
And then our last super chat for now is from Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, who said, "Can we take a moment and shout out how beautiful Coruscant was in this episode?"
Yes,
we can.
It was beautiful.
It was.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were disappointed that it was Coruscant. A lot of people I know were.
Oh, I loved it.
I liked
it too. I know
fine
people wanted Hosnian and a bunch of other potential spots.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did get a big Tron vibe when they were on the.
These two love
subway.
Tron. So
we do.
Oh yeah, I was like, "Where's Daft Punk?" I can hear it as they're like leaving the city to the shipyards, like the looking back, and I just like, "Ooh, Tron."
So the funny thing about Coruscant is there were some shots where I was like, wow, this is really good. But for some reason, it felt similar to me, like the prequels did, sort of a green screeny, or like we shot this person and then we put in the background, we're trying to match the two. And I was like, is that like, we haven't figured that out yet? It still feels like I thought Andor did a pretty good job at mixing like characters and things to the background. But in this, it did feel very often like there was like a backdrop behind people, and like they were kind of just sitting in a thing. And sometimes it felt kind of green screeny in this episode.
the volume.
You guys not feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
You can sense the volume, no question about it.
I think them walking at like that carnival street, felt that way. But even then, it was just cool.
The ice pops reminded me of like the digital fruit from Attack of the Clones. Like, all right, Natalie, take a fake bite of air now.
I love those things.
Did you guys know that?
I would love to try one. Bring him the Galaxy's Edge. I'll try one.
Oh, that's a good point. They could do that. Yeah.
I'm over here thinking I could make one.
A little like LED something in like a thin ice, and it just lights up. Like the stick is an LED and it's bright.
Stick is LED.
Different colors.
How many weeks till celebration can I make? Glowing ice pop.
The area that they were walking around in is called Monument Plaza, and I was looking up on Wikipedia because I saw some people talking about how it had been mentioned in like High Republic books and stuff, and it had shown up in some of those. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I also saw that this is apparently the same area that they show in Return of the Jedi, and I tried to look at the two of them compared, and I don't really see it. But yeah, supposedly like that panning shot that they added for the special edition is over this area.
Oh, very cool.
I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I didn't put that together, but that's what Wikipedia says, that Monument Plaza was first seen in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. And did you guys hear March of the Resistance?
So when I was listening to it, I couldn't place which song it was. So I was like, that's clearly Star Wars and like Carnival theme. I was like, is it Empire and Carnival theme? No, it's March of the Resistance. I was like, now I feel
the solo Rebels thing, like twisting it a little bit.
And it wasn't even, like that hidden. It was just like a different, cheerier version of it. Instead of like military, let's go get them.
It was similar to Solo, though, where they have kind of the Empire theme in that kind of propaganda. So it reminded me of that, where they're like, we are the Resistance. We're good. We're good. Yeah. Everyone's having ice pops.
So I'm going to jump in here with something which I feel is sort of exclusive because I noticed it and I haven't seen one person talk about it. Is that there's another song that is referenced in this that they hide in the background that I don't think anybody else picked up on. Anybody know what I'm talking about? In the scene at the end with the Mind Flare and the Mon Cala, in the background, it's the same song that plays in Jabba's palace.
Which song?
It's the I mean, I don't know that there is even a name. It's like general background music.
Oh, the casual background music?
Yep. It's just like a scene where like you can hear like creatures like
oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
And I'm like listening to the song and I'm like, so this lines up. If it's a hit song in the galaxy, it's probably just playing on the radio, or like you would have somebody playing a cover of that song in Jabba's palace. But I'm pretty confident it's the same song. It sounds almost identical, just different instrumentation.
Can I ask you guys?
Go check it out.
Anyway. I gotta watch it again. I only watched it once, so I gotta watch it again. But did you guys all wince a little bit at the two on the nose and maybe meta? It was a trap line.
It's a trap. Yeah.
People were talking about that in the chat today.
Yeah.
I mean,
were they?
Anybody miss that?
I thought it was weird.
Did anybody?
I was like, oh, fun.
And then even the Mon Cala was like, why am I zoomed in on right now?
Am I supposed to say something? Line.
Yeah.
That stupid admiral from like 10 years ago ruined our whole species by stereotyping us to a meme. I don't believe this.
Man, I
and
have
Leia
a
said
lot
it
of
first
stuff that we have not talked about, honestly.
Yeah.
On my list. What about the Opera House?
That was cool. I thought that was really cool to see.
That was neat and kind of uncomfortable because of all of the schmoozing they were doing at the end.
Oh, that part made me so uncomfortable. It reminded me very much of the Hunger Games, where they're like very much like, where are you? Who are you? What can I pay for?
That reminded me of
Andor.
Which, by the way, they don't mention in the movies is that the Capitol is paying for many a thing from these tributes, and that's what I picked up on.
Yep.
Oh, John's out. What up, John? John was like, that reminded me of Andor.
I thought he was being very
now.
I thought he was being very dramatic with his point, but yeah, I thought that's what I thought, and I also thought that they were maybe kind of schmoozing him to make him give them organs, because he was talking very specifically about like replicating organs and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, is he going to get involved? Because we don't know what he was doing yet. Like, could he be making organs that then they're going to pay for it? And then I remember being like, isn't this already a movie with Ewan McGregor where he's like the second clone?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah,
you're right about that. That is kind of a schmoozing, kind of like, hey, I need something.
Yeah,
you could be right. The only thing I took away from that, the reason they would say that is because this episode was doing a lot of what you were saying, Amanda, about maybe not painting the New Republic as like good people or moral people. But I don't necessarily think they were painting them bad. I think they were painting them as like politicians who don't care. Like, they even have the one group that's like, oh, whatever, Empire, New Republic, it doesn't matter. We just try to stay out of it,
We're
right?
just trying to stay out of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it felt
I
very
don't think
post World War II feelings, like a very like nuclear family, like America won the war. Now we can talk about it any kind of way we want because we're the winners. Like we have the definition now, and I was just like, ugh, icky.
Yeah, say that's a little different than, I don't know. See, I think you're painting it as like the New Republic is also bad, just like the Empire. And I'm like, I think these people in the core worlds just don't care. They're not playing.
I agree.
Yeah.
They just
I don't think
care.
they're playing bad. I will say that I was in some ways like a little bit disappointed with the way that the amnesty program was being held, because it did kind of was like, I feel like the New Republic are the good guys, but in this case, it is kind of strange that they like I think it's fine that they put them in like a rehabilitation center. They're not locking them up or killing them, right? Okay, that's fine. But it was kind of strange that they're like told to say they're given call numbers and stuff, and they're not even addressing them as people. I was like, that's kind of strange. Right. I don't know what that is about. And then there's the Blade Runner aspect of like, do you have any aggression? And like I don't know that that's really accomplishing anything. They're obviously, even if they would just say, nope, no, I don't, So it didn't really feel like that program was very effective, even though I'd rather that than like a prison or death sentence to anybody who was associated with Empire, right?
Sorry, my camera dropped out or whatever happened. I don't know what happened.
We're speaking ill of the New Republic.
Yeah, they're on. But I felt like it reminded me a lot of Andor in the sense that Perrin and his party buddies don't care what state the galaxy's in. They don't care what type of regime's in place. They're fine as long as they're left alone to just do whatever they want in high society. And those people were the same way. And one thing that it made me think of was like, everyone kept saying, like, when the sequel trilogy came out, how could this New Republic only last for 30 years and then have this new totalitarian regime come in, like the First Order? And it's like, when you have people like this who just don't care what's going on and just let things happen, you're not going to get momentum behind a true movement to a stable government. So I remember
that being
say, whatever, rebels, whatever,
Yeah, I remember that being the in-canon explanation and having fans sort of push back on that concept, me included. Is like, it just seemed kind of weird that they were like, I guess the rest of the galaxy is just fine with the First Order taking over. And it's like, really? That seems a little weird. But the more that they paint the New Republic in this light, where they don't really care, it's this person, it doesn't really matter. If the core worlds don't really care what the name of their government is called, then it is what it is, right? It does sort of make sense that they would be like, okay, First Order, that's fine with me. We were just a New Republic. I don't care.
Yeah. And
I saw a comment. Oh, I saw a comment too that was talking about Grogu's first words. And I was like, this is going to be debatable, because you could argue, and there will be people that argue as of now, that his first words were, "This is the way."
Yeah.
Because they both look at him. Yeah.
Because this is the way, this is the way. And then they cut to him making a sound that is in those syllables and kind of similar babbling. And they both look, and before they have a chance to like say, did he just say, they get hit with the ship. So the impression is it's supposed to be that Grogu's forming the words, "This is the way." And so I think some fans are going to say, nope, I knew what he was saying. That wasn't babbling. I understood the language coming from the creature.
He's going to speak basic or English though.
No. I know. I'm saying like at what point is a child's first word the real word? It's not like they go like dog. You know what I mean? It's like you can sort of make out that it was intended to be dog is sort of the idea there. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking we may have sneakily just gotten Grogu's first words, even though it's not totally legible. It was understandable.
And I like how what you were just saying, James, is they kind of made it so that you didn't focus on it. You just move quickly to the next thing.
Yeah.
And Amanda, so what do you Grogu obviously is a scene stealer. He transcends Star Wars. He's like Elvis or the Beatles when it comes to that sort of thing. But for an episode where he really wasn't a big factor, to still get this sort of heaviness and moving the story and setting something up. That's got to be important for the Mandalorian, because there have been detractors who maybe liked Grogu early on who were saying like, oh, they're just relying on the cute popular baby.
Yeah.
Do you think that is a very important thing that we really need to appreciate?
I think we still do, because Grogu is the cute, obviously. But we have to understand that his character is building too. He is getting older, and he is turning into something different than what we started with season 1. And so I think the importance of him learning words, using his powers, still donning. He's wearing his chainmail, right? He's still wearing the little.
I think he has the whole. He's got all his gear.
I think someone talked about it in like episode 1, and I was like, I think it's there. But I think the importance of allowing him to grow into Grogu and like doing all of that is just as important as him being just a cute little sidekick. So
yeah,
we still need to give him his time and his strength. But season 2 was all him, and season 1 was all him too.
Right.
And this is a lot. The season 3 is a lot of Mandalorians.
Yeah.
And Mandalore. So
I saw someone say that this might be the lowest he's been in the show. Like this would be the lowest amount of screen time this episode. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems almost believable.
It seems believable, yeah.
Besides the very first episode.
Yeah. Actually, the one comment I saw about that was excluding the first episode.
Yeah. And he has a big arc in even Book of Boba Fett, where he makes that choice, and then he again uses his powers not to help kill something, but to lull something to sleep. And it's using more of the Jedi path. But I am curious. I'm with you, Amanda, in terms of like, are we gonna see Grogu? Like, we can't see Grogu with a helmet on and then have him take the creed, and then like Disney's like, what are you doing? Like, his face is like half of our revenue.
Exactly.
Not only that,
leave him be.
That puppet is like what, $3 million? Jon Favreau
of course. Said? Yeah. The minute it blinks at like $10,000.
Yeah.
But I think. I don't know. To me, I've thought of this season of Mandalorian as being about the Mandalorians, not necessarily just Din, because to me, this is kind of becoming the Bo-Katan show. Yeah. I love it. But I think Grogu is going to have to just fit in the Mandalorians, and it's not just Baby Yoda show anymore.
100%.
And I think it's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're just scratching the surface with what that character is going to leave this season with, heading into season 4, which Favreau said he's already completed writing. So he knows, where this story is going, and that is exciting, because this isn't one of those, like we've said this on the show before, Amanda, and I know you obviously love all sorts of TV dramas and stuff. There's certain shows where it's like, oh, we're popular, we have to do another season. I guess we'll do another season. I'm not going to name any, but they just sort of on a whim create things for the next season and stuff like that. It seems like Favreau has a plan.
What you're talking about. But yes, it is nice. I believe in Favreau. I believe in his storytelling. I believe that he has a good idea versus 2 showrunners that decided to write the end of a book that's not written. That's fine too. I believe in it. It's going to be good, but I think the spotlight's going to have to be shared.
Yeah, I agree.
Can we go back to where we started? Because I know that one of the first things when we jumped into the discussion was how Bo-Katan felt at the end of this episode. And it was sort of split, I think, between Amanda and Lacey. You guys were saying that she was probably feeling a little bit like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And I don't know how you felt, John, but like when I saw that scene, I was like, okay, interesting. They're moving Bo-Katan into being a character who's a little bit is reluctantly sort of starting to understand that maybe Din Djarin is onto something, and this creed and this reformation of the Mandalorians is the way.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amanda. Yeah.
I think she's doing it, and I love Bo-Katan, but I think she's doing it to build an army.
Yeah,
I think she's building her own army. Game. She's playing the game. She's building her own army. She's got to get past Paz. That was weird. Yeah. Paz Vizsla to kind of really get into it, because I think Din Djarin's going to follow her now. She saved his butt twice. Like, he's got his creed back. He's good. He's fine. I think Bo now is like, we need to unite Mandalorians as one. You guys are the crazy cult people, but I think if you follow me, we'll succeed.
But you're the only ones. I think
Yeah,
I think where we're leaning on this. I like that though, that she's maybe just seeing it as an opportunity. She's like, you know what?
I think she's an
Technically,
opportunist.
I have not removed my helmet. Maybe I do have a way in right now.
Yeah, I think that's what she was thinking.
Greg says it great in the chat. He says, I think she's an accidental cult member and is taking advantage of it.
Cult leader and is going to take advantage of it.
I think there's that element of again, like we talked about at the top, about past trauma resurfacing and what that does to you, and sometimes that makes you reactive and not think as much. It makes you desperate to escape what that outcome was initially, but also I think learning from history and, like, you know, what happened to Mandalore last time, and you had all these families disagreeing on the way Mandalore should operate. Should they be passive? Should they be militant? And then you have her seeing her new home get decimated and saying, well, last time, you know, our division did nothing, and look what happened to our planet. Maybe now she's thinking this, you know, and she even brought up this wasn't done by, you know, some random attack, you know, and you know, a lot of people are alluding to, is this the Thrawn tie-in or something like that? Clearly, she sees this, and the amount of TIE fighters, TIE interceptors they put in this episode wasn't just to be cool. It was cool, but it was to show, like, someone with a massive fleet is coming for these people. Yeah, and she can't just be like, screw you guys, I'm going home, like Cartman. She needs these people together, even if they have all these, oh, you're a helmet on guy, you're a helmet off girl. Okay, well, you know what? That guy with the blue face is going to kill us all. So we all have to kind of come together and pull together, put our differences aside. We have a common enemy. It's like the horrible movie. People are going to hate me for saying this. Independence Day.
I love it.
You want world peace? You want world peace? Aliens coming to Earth. All of a sudden, all these things we have that we disagree about here doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We all got to come together. We got to fight the bigger enemy. And I think that's what's going to end up happening.
There's also a piece here that you have to remember, that in season 2, the only reason Din Djarin found Ahsoka and helped her get into the village to get the information about Thrawn is because of Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan told him where to find her, and then he helped her get the information about Thrawn.
Yes. Isn't this a lovely Ahsoka tie-in?
It is. It absolutely is.
It absolutely
The show
is.
loves to do that.
I'm still feeling a Din Bo-Katan romance. I feel like it's coming.
Oh, give me the fan fictions. Let's go.
I like it. I love it. I do like that. I was calling it Manbo, but apparently said Dinbo is another one. I don't know.
Dinbo. That's what I've been saying.
I like Manbo because it sounds like man bun.
Yeah, exactly. That one's.
I like Dimbo because it sounds like bimbo, and it's hilarious to me.
I will admit, like, I don't have a problem if they want to take it that direction, but I gotta say it on the record. I don't see what Lacey's seeing. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. I don't see it at all. I don't see the connection, the obvious connection there. But I'm not.
It's kind of like Pershing. If you want to see it, it's there, James. You know.
Yeah, you can find it if you want it, but I think that kind of belongs in the fan fiction. I don't think we're going to get the romance.
To see it too, you know what I mean?
Sure.
My fear is like when something is just it doesn't seem like it's clearly evident there at all, and someone's like, oh, it's there, and you're like, no, it's not, and then for some reason like they go that route, and that person
for some reason we get Raylo, and then that whole thing happens.
Yeah.
Let's not get started on that.
I don't want to get started on that. I don't want to.
Lacey,
I'm already angry about it. My blood pressure is starting to rise.
But did you see the romance that is not there?
Well, let's lower the blood
James,
pressure.
I'm going to push you into the Mines of Mandalore pool.
Yeah.
Spartan kick you in there.
All right.
You're going to be like, I didn't know there was a cliff.
Lacey, we got a couple of super chats about Grogu, which should lower our blood pressure a little bit.
We do.
I'm
first we have Frank. Hey Frank, thanks for the super chat. He said, hey TRB, do you think Grogu will be able to wear the Mandalorian helmet full time since he eats all the time? He'll have to be redeemed a lot. I hope he likes baths.
Baths. Well, that's cute.
Thank you.
I mean, it's true.
Because Disney won't allow that.
Yeah, I can't say, like, maybe he'll have he gets like a part-time little helmet or something. I don't know.
Part-time. He's a part-time Mando.
Maybe this whole thing of them coming together gets rid of all creeds and stuff. Like maybe eventually by the end they're all taking their helmet off and like.
I mean,
maybe we get an answer because Din's been wearing the helmet, following the rules. Although, and technically, they're the clan of two. They're the Mudhorn clan, right?
Yeah.
And then Grogu is considered the foundling. So the thing is like if he's being redeemed and accepted back into the cult, then how did Grogu fit into that? Is he still young enough that he doesn't have to wear the helmet, or at what point is he gonna get put where that draw the line where they with the other kid we saw in the first episode where he
is a rabbit hole
into because that kid's what 12 or something, and Grogu's like
I'd say
50, 52. It's hard to say.
Well, our next super chat's from Che. Thanks, Che. He says, "I think Din will be conflicted about Grogu taking the creed. He would not want to see. He would not want to see his little face again. Would he not want to see his little face again? Can members of the same clan see each other's faces? I have no idea. I'm assuming not.
I say no.
So. Which is crazy. I always wondered, like, how does it smell in there? Like, what
would you guys?
I think the same. Like, I know what it smells like in a helmet. I do.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It's gross.
What kind of Mando would you be? Would you follow the creed and do the helmet thing, or would you be like Bo-Katan style and be like, I'm taking my helmet off whenever I want?
This is my brand. I am not putting this thing under a helmet. No, it stays out. Nope.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. I put that helmet on just for bits on this show, and like after like a minute, I'm like, get this thing off my face. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. I feel you. When I wear my Ahsoka Leiku, it's like wearing a giant pillow on my head. I'm walking around. I'm like, "What'd you say? What? Say it a little louder, Sonny. I can't hear a thing."
I like to pretend that in the Star Wars universe, the helmets somehow work. Like they're the technology that we don't have, where it's like breathable and just people don't mind putting them on.
They have the seal. You hear it when they put it on
all the time. Like
Yeah, there's some insane like noise canceling technology.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, are there any other aspects of this episode you want to get to before we just do some speculating on what we think happens next week?
I feel like we covered it. I think I'm good.
The only note that I wrote down that we haven't talked about is how and this is personal, I thought the mail delivery guy looked like Kendall Gellner, one of our patrons.
Oh, really?
Watching again, I was like, how did he get in The Mandalorian? That's him.
I wish him. That would be amazing.
It felt like his mannerisms.
It was Dave at first because I actually wasn't looking at the screen.
In the chat.
Filoni?
When because I was cooking dinner and I was like, "Is that Dave?" It sounded like him for a bit, and then I turned and I was like, "Oh, that's not Dave. Nope, not Dave."
We do have one more super chat that I'm just going to jump into really quick from Nix. What's up, Nix? Oh my gosh, Nix with the super chat.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nix.
That's awesome.
Nick said, "Happy I made it to a live Mando show. I feel chapter 19 is our build-up episode to a big reveal that's coming next week. Super chat to say thanks and use towards your Star Wars Celebration Europe travels. See you soon. Always love and appreciate all that you do for the Star Wars community, TRB." Nix, that's coming right back to you because we're going to get you some drinks.
Yeah.
What do you want?
It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Thank you. You're going to let us know the places to go. And we're going to get you some drinks and whatever you guys eat over there.
Snacks.
So jealous. Have a wonderful time.
Oh, you're going to be missed.
I wish I could go. I know. It really bums me out, but I'm also happy that London I'm happy it's going to London. I'm happy it's getting out of the US. Celebration.
You're on the website, but still.
I am on the website. I'm on.
And
if you bought channels, you saw my face, everybody. And the socials, you'll probably see it more than once. Me not there though.
Recap videos always.
Thank you, Nix, for that. That's amazing. Wow. All right. So next week, what do we think's going down? Do we think we're hitting pause on this story and picking that up later, and we're getting right back into more heavy Mando stuff based on like picking up where the episode literally ended with Bo-Katan? Is she gonna, buy in fully? Amanda, where do you think we're going next week? Which is gonna be the halfway point in the season.
I think it's gonna be all Bo and her struggles with now being a part of the Creed. And whether she is going the opportunist route, whether she's just like, oh, this is what I am now because these are my people, I think it's going to be a lot of that inner turmoil. And I do think we're pausing on the Pershing story for a bit.
Okay, cool. Do you think we pick up with that story again this season, or is it going to be another show, or like Mando season 4?
The Pershing story? No, I think we're going to pick it back up on it. I think it's going to have a whole tie-in with Moff Gideon coming back at the last 2 episodes, wanting something. Just because I think, you know, that was a whole sting operation. I believe she's a double agent. I believe she's working for him. I think that's just going that route. But like, why wipe his brain? I'm still kind of struggling with that. So
yeah,
if she did that,
just to throw it out there, Carl Weathers is directing episode 4. So
okay.
So give us a little bit of thought of how that might tie in. I don't really know if there's any sort of consensus to Bryce Dallas Howard is doing it or whatever, but Carl Weathers is directing. I don't know. We have the list for writers too, right?
Yeah, everyone in the chat's been saying it's Dave Filoni's. So if that's the case, then we would assume Ahsoka might be showing up.
Ahsoka or keeping with Bo.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, Carl Weathers directing. Wasn't there like a massive?
His was the lab one.
A massive attack on Navarro in the trailer.
Yes.
If he's directing this one, he may star in it also. Is this the death of Grief Karga?
No.
Ooh, I hope not. But like, why would they go back to there? Why?
That's a good question. Is it the pirates that come back? Is it
halfway through and we're getting that little subline? I feel like we need to get the through line of saving Mandalore. I don't know.
I agree. So yeah, Favreau and Filoni are writing this upcoming episode.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was trying to find like,
but Filoni's also writing.
I pulled up another episode that was very clearly wrong from like December of 2022.
Yeah, I don't know that this is going to be Ahsoka yet, because Filoni's also co-writing the 7th one, chapter 23. So we'll see. But yeah, Carl Weathers, and then that goes right into Peter Ramsey, and then also let's not forget. You know, I don't know that they planned Celebration based on this planned this schedule based on Celebration. I doubt it, but the April 5th episode leading into Celebration is the Bryce Dallas Howard one, so I'm sure there's gonna be hype for that. And then the final 2 post Celebration are Rick Famuyiwa, and that the 7th one is Favreau Filoni, so that's probably your Ahsoka.
I feel like that Sabine's gonna show up then.
Yeah, I feel like all we're gonna start pulling the Thrawn Sabine. I think that's gonna start pulling, but I kind of hope not. I don't know. I hope not. This needs to stay Mandalorian. This needs to stay there, unless they win their fight. Merry Christmas. Everything is golden and peachy. And they need another conflict. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think Thrawn's a lock for Mandalorian, but I really feel that Sabine could be the option to lead us into the Ahsoka series. Yeah.
That would
definitely,
be very cool.
Since she's got the Mando background. Also, Darksaber, where'd it go?
So Din has it back. Yeah,
you got it back.
Yeah,
okay, I missed that part.
Yeah.
I didn't do initially.
We talked about that last week. So she uses it, but then when he wakes up, and he's like, I'm not going with you or whatever. I've got to bathe in the water. He puts his gun away. He puts his knife away, and he picks up the Darksaber and puts it back on his.
Got it.
So,
missed that
and
completely.
She had no problem. She was very clearly watching him.
So I'm sure a lot of people.
So
did.
she didn't like say like, hold on a second, that belongs to
mine
me
now.
Or she watched it. So it was just a thing that she just happened to use it. Yeah,
she'll get it back. I hope she does.
When are we getting our Boba Fett in this season? I thought it was going to be this week because the writer was co-writer or was one of the writers for Book of Boba Fett, but he's going to pop in somewhere with Fennec Shand, right?
If I want it, I don't know.
You're not a Boba Fett fan?
Okay, all right. No, he is actually. Everyone that knows me is very knows how I feel about the Fett. I think. I've always just disliked Boba Fett up until his appearance in The Mandalorian. I thought he was lame.
Same.
I thought his costume was dumb. I thought he just a chump part. He just goes out like a wuss. I've always hated
the exact
Boba
same
Fett.
way too. Yeah, me and Lacey both felt the same way. And then
Tamara Morrison and it of course redeemed him, but no, I'm not a Fett man. I love Fennec Shand. Not a Fett.
I would like to see Boba Fett come back and do Boba Fett things and help.
Sure,
Mando.
but it does not need to be the Boba Fett show on the Mando. It does not. No, he is a side character.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we already sort of did a side episode. We can't do it's only an 8-episode season. So when people call this episode like a filler, I'm like, you can't call an episode that's 1 of 8 a filler. You just can't do that. Yeah. So you can call it whatever you want, but that just doesn't make sense. Usually a filler is if we have to write 26 episodes for this show. Let's do one where they get trapped in an elevator.
Yes, we'll play the Clone Wars over again. We'll just give it to Jar Jar Binks. He can take it for an episode. It's fine.
This has a purpose, but I think there's not enough episodes in a Mandalorian like Andor, which also are longer episodes where you can do these side things. I think we have to be done with these side things because we haven't seen Moff Gideon yet. We need obviously more Mando, Bo-Katan escalating that. The Rebels crew's coming in. We need to bring it back to center here. So
I just don't. I think my biggest conflict is I don't know how we can wrap it back to Din having the biggest problem. His problem was saving Grogu, getting back into Kree. Now what? Now what is Din about? What is he going to do? Yeah. So the only thing is Bo and getting back Mandalore. I don't know where it's going.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that too, because we just got that episode of the Bad Batch today, and it's like they feel like they're fine, how are we going to get to the finale where there's a big problem when it seems like they're setting up their retirement, But I think what's also interesting in this season is I feel like we do have to get that cameo from Book of Boba Fett, because we know that Tamara Morrison was reciting lines on the beach, right? He has stuff.
Yeah.
And there's nothing for Book of Boba Fett season 2, so it's probably for Mandalorian season 3. I assume he's around. And I also think we could potentially get if Mando has an episode for whatever reason he has to go back to Tatooine, besides Peli Motto and all that whole situation, you could get the Boba Fett, the Fennec Shan, and also the Cobb Vanth, yes. And they could sort of sort out some of those things that they've been saying about that, which would lead up to just how we're saying about Sabine, give us a little bit of that, and that'll lead into the whatever it is. You get us the whole Boba Fett saying I don't know if I want to do this, and then I think I'm going to hand it over to this guy, and then you get your Timothy Oliphant cameo, and
I also
I think that could be this season.
I get you, but I also believe the show writers are a little cautious because one of the biggest things about season 2 was that the cameo season. It was every episode we had a new person from the past out here. Right. And where did Mando go? Where did Din go? Where did Grogu go? So I think they're kind of just walking on thin ice, being we got to be careful with our cameos and who we're bringing in each episode.
That's fair. There's a tight amount of content to work through. And the story's getting more complex. So it's less opportunity to just be let's sprinkle this person in.
Yeah,
so
I mean, we're leading up to a war.
Yeah,
for Mandalore. Right. I mean, it's
Lacey, anything you want to toss out there prediction wise for next week?
Well, I feel like obviously Moff Gideon is still out there pulling strings. He's still meddling and stuff, which makes me excited because I feel like I don't know how you felt about this, Jedi Amanda, but the three of us were kind of wow, he kind of went down like a chump, kind of
he really did. He really did. I felt the same
when
I had to
up
in season tears to get okay, what happened to everybody else in that season finale?
Season 1, he shows up and he's I know your social security number. I know what you ate for lunch yesterday, and you're oh my god. And then he's he was a chump. So I'm hoping that he's getting his badassness back, he's gonna be a tough guy again, but I think next week is gonna be Din and Bo-Katan grappling with the cult that they're a part of now.
Yes,
and, what that means. And then obviously I think the Navarro thing, like James was saying, is going to happen next week, where they get attacked or there's some big fight there that they then have to leave
right
to go. But then again, the armorer said to Bo-Katan, you can come and go as you please, we're not making you stay here.
She did say that,
but
I don't like you. If you want to leave, leave.
And the armorer's words are very pertinent.
Eloquent.
They're for a reason.
Yes. I forget what word it was. She said some word that was just Emily Swallow just said it so over the top that I
free to go or free to leave or something. wasn't it?
Free to
the
go.
living water. Did you say about waters? She's like, it's the waters, the living waters.
Yes.
I don't know.
What?
I like it's the waters.
And I
Yes,
was
they
like,
are the living waters.
Look here, see, guy.
The only person who made water 3 syllables. Wahata.
Wahata.
But I like
all right.
applaud her because it's such a specific voice. Like she's done such a good job. But every time she says something, I find myself just mimicking her as I'm sitting here.
Oh yeah,
I'm
and
still sort of waiting for her. Like, what does the armor do? Like, we saw her fight one time, but I'm like, why are they all like following her? I want to see her like really do something cool.
Yeah.
Remember the joke we made where Din was coming in and they were like, shh, 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 he doesn't know we're here. Or like, shh, put your helmets back on. Put your helmet.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's like the Truman Show where they're all in on it. But it's so funny. Last thing, I know we got to get out of here, but last thing, my wife likes the Mandalorian, and she asked, she's like, I wonder what that woman looks like. And I showed her Emily Swallow, and she's like, why do they put her in a helmet? I'm like, you know, I don't know what to tell you, but she's like, oh my god, she's beautiful, you know. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for listening and watching and being a part of TRB and the Mando Fan Show. Before we do get out of here, we have some thank yous to give out to people who make this show possible, our patrons at patreon.com/resistance broadcast, specifically our generals and spice runners, Carmelo, John RISI, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Darth Hurricane, a lot of them in the chat today, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Danny, Mike Rumore, Matt Heath, Brendan McLaughlin, Count Pepto, Sneaky Zebra, Paul Sullivan, Aaron Ellington, Diana, Ivar, Micah Harrison, and Chris White, and our spice runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Ryan WAARA, Dave HORNAK, Thomas Hennessy, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and Michael Fry. Thank you all for your support, and all of our patrons. You have no idea how you help us, but it is immense, and we thank you very, very much. Amanda, Jedi Manda, again, your plugs, let people know where they could find you and talk to you about Mando and all the other nerdy stuff that we love, including your amazing books and cosplaying.
Yeah, you guys can find me on social media, any social media out there, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Jedi Manda. I'm all over the place. I do cosplay all the time, and I do tutorials, but mostly pertaining to Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and Marvel. So if you're really interested in learning how to make costumes, I have written 2 books on how to get into cosplay. And they're available on Amazon. And if you're going to C2E2 in a couple weeks, look for me. I'll be there.
All right. Yeah, and for our audio listeners, the book, I know it's long titles, but just look up Level Up Creative Cosplay on Amazon, and you'll be able to find Amanda's books. Very cool. And congratulations, by the way. That's impressive.
Thanks.
That is so awesome.
Writing is hard. But the reward is fantastic. So I'm very grateful these exist.
Awesome. And Lacey, did I see a couple of super chats pop in last second here?
Yes. So we have Qui-Gon J, who said, couldn't make the live, so just popping in to say love the show and love Katie O'Brien. I'm
love
saying
the typo
popping
too,
because I know that's what he meant.
Pooping in.
Thank you, buddy.
And then Joseph said, thank you all for doing this. It was awesome to be able to finally be able to join. Have a great Bendu night. Thank you, Joseph.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thanks,
you
Joseph.
so much. Okay. And for us, Johnny Hoey on Twitter and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. Check us out. We're going to be doing Matt Damon movie, Born.
Matt Damon.
Great Wall.
God, it's Jason Bourne.
James, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, both at Myra Chunks, and for the next 2 weeks, still yet doing the Bad Batch reaction show. So as these episodes come out on Wednesdays, so do the Bad Batch, and I have a little thing in the morning where I talk about the Bad Batch episodes. So if you like Bad Batch, come and check us out.
And we're in the home stretch. Lacey, how about you?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran, and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And then on Wednesday mornings, I do these reaction videos of me watching The Mandalorian live on Patreon only because I look like I just woke up because I did. And I will be doing The Mandalorian Minute next week, which is my first official reaction to the episode here on the YouTube channel.
Yes. And for our admirals, generals, and spice runners on Patreon, we will see any of you that are around shortly for our monthly hangout. So we will see all of you soon. And for everyone else, thank you again for being with us. Amanda, can't thank you enough. This was a lot of fun hanging out. So
thank you for the invite, Lacey and team. This was fun. I
don't know if you have pockets in your cosplays, but we bestow upon you a key to the resistance base anytime you want to come back and hang out. So thank you.
Anytime, literally anytime.
We will be back next week to discuss. Oh, I just hit my mic. To discuss Chapter 20 of The Mandalorian, which I can't believe it's going to be the halfway point already. But thank you to everybody once again. Enjoy your weeks. Enjoy spring as it's just around the corner. And we'll see you next time right here on the Mando Fan Show. We'll see you around, kids.